Hey guys, first of all, to start off this video, I'd just like to say wow. I had no idea that my previous video would do as well as it did. I figured it would be somewhat popular, but it's really brought a lot of new people here. Within the sphere of my channel, we have a lot of new subscribers, so I'd like to say hello to all of you. I'm very glad that you're here, and let's just get right into talking about some Burning Abyss. So I was originally going to make a deck profile after YCS Chicago once we had a better idea of what the meta was going to look like. Maybe we'd get a topping Burning Abyss list to get a better idea. But for those of you who are going to the YCS this weekend or just have a regional this weekend, here's sort of a starting point. I'll probably update this after YCS Chicago, but for now, this is something, you have a few days of testing left. If you want to take Burning Abyss, but you're not exactly sure where to go with it, this is a starting point from which you can test. I don't necessarily recommend copying this deck card for card when you go. You should do some of your own testing, like I just said, and kind of make some of your own card choices. But, even if you don't really have time for testing this week and you still want to take Burning Abyss, it is perfectly acceptable to just take this list, and I think you can do perfectly fine. Getting into the cards, we're playing 9 Burning Abyss monsters. This is the standard 10 -1 Skarm. So we still have the 2 Farfa, and then one of all the other halfway decent ones. Skarm isn't that amazing. Joshua Oosters was talking about how if you're going second with Burning Abyss, a lot of the time you're not even resolving Skarm because you're just killing your opponent. And even if you are, the only thing you can search in this deck with Skarm, not the only thing, but the only thing that you really want to be searching with Skarm is Tour Guide. And so playing more than one isn't super necessary. The second Farfa still comes up sometimes. In general, Burning Abyss monsters other than Graf and Seer aren't that great, except for making Beatrice. So just 9 of those. The 1 Tour Guide, as I mentioned, the main thing you want to be searching off of Skarm. It's a solid starter card. It's strong. The 3 Fiendish Rhino Warriors. These are your Jack of all trade cards. They can send any fiend to the graveyard. They can stand in the place of Graf in the 2-card Beatrice combo. They can send Edgimp Sabers to the graveyard as an additional extender. They just do a whole bunch of stuff. One of the best normal summons in the deck. Pretty much staple at 3 at this point, I would think. Now, no more Orbital Hydralander. Snow is banned. We're not playing it anymore, and that means we can stack up on our 3 ofs. And that means we're playing 3 Tsuchinoko, 3 Jackalope, 3 Nessie. Tsuchinoko and Jackalope are obviously the best ones because they are level 3 and can make Dante. Nessie is still pretty good though. It does have the distinct advantage of the fact that if it discards itself, you can add one of the other 2, so not too bad. Level isn't particularly relevant in this. It's just not that good. We don't really need level 7 in this deck, but I think just being a link extender is good enough to run it, using it as a way to access Tsuchinoko or Jackalope if you need it, trying to whittle down your hand so it's the only card left. You could do it that way. Dangers are just pretty much the strongest extenders in this deck. They have the highest possibility of going +1, and they can help you cycle through your deck, get through to things like Destrudo, etc. So I think playing the 9 Dangers is a solid choice. You could cut down on the Nessie, I think, because again, the level isn't super great. If you have a limited budget, or maybe you want to fit in other cards that aren't shown here, Nessie is something that you can definitely cut down to 2-1. You could maybe even cut it all together. Continuing with our 3 ofs, Gallus. Yes, we can play 3 Gallus. I think it's just a good card. I think it's slightly worse than the Dangers, but it does have its own different utilities. It sends things directly to the graveyard from the top of the deck, and it burns, which can be very good in time. It's just solid extender, pretty much. Solid level 3 extender. Edgimp Sabers. This is a level 3 extender from the graveyard, which is somewhat unique compared to a lot of the other ones. The Dangers and Gallus all have to come from hand. Sabers, though, you can send to the graveyard with Fiendish Rhino Warrior. I still think it's worth running. nothing about this deck has really changed sufficiently to the point that I think it isn't worth running. 3 Destrudo and the Mare, of course, for our combo together with Yazi, so that we have the Destrudo and one other monster equals Borreload or Boral Sword. Really strong combo, still worth playing, especially if we're planning to go second, which this build does plan to do so. I think in a world where Snow is banned, Destrudo is one of the strongest cards you have because it gives you a power play. We don't have the Orbital Hydrolander anymore. I think a lot of boss monsters aren't really worth playing. You could maybe fit a BLS or a Levianeer in here. But really, what we want to be doing is dropping that Mare, bringing out our tokens, and getting our really big link monsters. Next, we have the 2 White Dragon, 1 Black Dragon. You could easily make this 3 White Dragon, 1 Black Dragon, or 3 White Dragon, 2 Black Dragon, 2 and 2, whatever you want to do. This is what I'm putting in this deck list. This is what Joshua Oosters was playing. Thomas Rose was going the 3 and 2, I believe, before the ban list. It's sort of like Malicious. You go +2, you're summoning 2 monsters. They aren't level 6, which makes them slightly worse, I suppose. But they're just pretty solid all the way around. I've been liking them more and more lately. Even if you're not playing the full Chaos build with Eclipse Wyvern, these are still just good extenders. Puts 2 monsters on the field. You know, if you have a Link 2 and then you summon White Dragon and then do something with it, I don't know, I'm just saying crap. But anyway, if you can somehow get 2 of them on the field, that's 2 materials for Boral Sword or Borreload. They can also be very helpful as targets for Destrudo. They can help you make Trizbana, whatever. Just general all-around extender utility that goes plus. Cool. Next, we have our non-extenders. So these are hand traps. In this example, I have the 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Effect Veiler. Ash Blossom is just super generically strong in this format. It's good against any sort of odd combo decks. There's some weird Cyberstein FTKs and stuff going around. There's the Azathoth thing. It's good against Sky Striker somewhat. It's pretty good against Altergeist. You can negate Multi-Faker effect to summon Silquitas. You can use it to negate pretty much everything in Thunder Dragons. If they flip an Artifact Sanctum, you can Ash it. So that's all pretty cool. Effect Veiler, also just sort of generically strong against a lot of different decks. Another thing that you could consider is something like Dino Wrestler Pankratops. You could play Ghost Bell, Ghost Ogre, Roland Lockbird. There's a ton of options, and I think this is definitely a place where a lot of your own testing can come in handy. You could even cut a bunch of these entirely and go for more extenders. Also playing the 4 Kaijus. I'm deciding to stick with 4 even in a 45 card deck, which we'll talk about in a minute. You could always add more. I think 4 is a pretty solid number. It's really good against Sky Striker. It's okay against Thunder Dragons, not that great against Altergeist. I think it's going to be really important for this deck to at least run some, just because it can be such a free win against the Sky Striker matchup. And finally, 3 Sekka's Light, Pot of Greed, except better. And so the reason we're running 45 cards, Thomas Rose was playing 45 cards, and his justification was that it decreases the likelihood that you draw into Mare. So I personally really like playing more than 40 cards right now. You don't really want to see the Mare. You don't necessarily really want to see the Black Dragon Collar Serpent. There's just a lot of stuff in this deck that you want to run like a decently high number of, but you're afraid of clogging in multiples, like Destrudo. You don't necessarily want to see a ton of same hand trap or a ton of Kaijus. So I think running 45 cards just makes the math work out a little bit better. You can definitely cut down to 40 if you want to. I think you could even go up to 50. You would probably have to mess around with the ratios a bunch more. You'd probably have to add more Burning Abyss monsters, etc. But I'm liking 45. I'm curious to see what you guys think. For the extra deck, of course, we have the Beatrice and 2 Dante, pretty staple. Boral Sword and Borreload, these are win condition cards. They help you push for game, deal with problem cards. This is kind of the whole reason we run the Destrudo and Mare. Trizbana, Super good against Altergeist and just All-Trap decks. Also pretty good against Sky Striker. You Kaiju them, make this card, banish all of their set back row. The 4 Nightmares, if you can fit them in your extra deck, I think you should, and there definitely is the room. If you wanted other stuff in this build, Mermaid and Cerberus are 2 of the first things you can probably cut. Underclock Taker, good link to Reproducus, and Link Kribo are both for the tokens that you summon off of Mermare. Yazi, of course, Destrudo, use it to synchro summon into Yazi, which summons the Mermare from your deck. And finally, Pilgrim. This is the more conservative choice. Some Burning Abyss players are choosing to cut it because Beatrice doesn't get destroyed enough. I do think you should have it there just in case Beatrice does get destroyed, though. Pilgrim can be extremely difficult for a lot of decks to get over, especially a lot of rogue decks. I just feel a lot more safe having it. I think it's probably the correct call unless you're trying to fit in a whole bunch of different combo stuff. Now, I didn't put a side deck in here just because I'm not super confident in exactly what's going to be side decked. I think that's something that you can probably come up with on your own. Some good ideas, though. Of course, Red Reboot and Twin Twisters are almost certainly going to be staple. Card Destruction is something that's great to play with it. Pankratops, you could try in the main, but you could also put here in the side. Joshua Oosters was trying Denko Sekka. It's sort of an alternative to Kaiju's. You just summon it, and it turns off all the Sky Striker back row. You could try things like Majesty's Fiend, Vanity's Fiend. You can try more hand traps. Cypher Gear Gamma, any of the previous hand traps I've mentioned. You can try Imperial Order. The list goes on and on and on. There's just so many different options for the side deck, and depending on your event, whether you're going to the YCS, going to a regional, what your read of the meta is, you can try lots of different things. And that's going to conclude this deck profile. The reason I didn't do this physically is because I'm just missing a couple of the cards. Like, I don't think I have any Nesties right now. So just did it on YGO Pro, nice, simple, and easy. I'll probably, again, like mentioned at the beginning of the video, do an update after YCS Chicago, after we have a better idea of what the meta is going to look like. Maybe we have an example of a topping Burning Abyss deck, and I will see you guys then. Bye.